Hello, and welcome to Lawyerlifter podcast, where we talk business, law, and what keeps me sane, powerlifting. I'm your host, Melissa Fulgencio, and today we're going to talk about what Lawyerlifter is and what I hope our listeners will get out of it. I'll offer a bit of advice regarding business, talk about my recent marriage, and what it's taught me about business. And finally, you can learn about my thoughts on getting ready to compete again during the pandemic. I hope you enjoy. My full and legal name is Melissa Fulgencio, but I have never been one for formalities. So I am just known as Mel. My Instagram persona is Lawyerlifter, the driving force behind finally just starting to tell my story, which began when that persona was picked just for funsies, came by way of a simple truth. No one can ever embrace their blessings and fall down on their knees in gratitude if they don't look back. Back to the grime, where growing pains seem forever, where success, light, a sense of identity, was so far from grasp in the midst of many personal experiences that were dark and Herculean. This podcast, this website, they are just mediums of unapologetic, naked conversations about the uphill battle toward me, who I am, so that you, my listener, maybe just curious, maybe wanting to know who the fuck is the lawyer lifter behind the law firm she calls Uplift Law, finds commonality with me in the story that unfolds and keeps on telling. And there will be no filter because such is life generally, and especially my own. The chapters and the scenes did not have beautiful musical interludes. Basically, the onward upward is a cacophony of life moments strewn together, which now manifests in my fast paced law firm and the calling that resonates throughout my entire practice. That is a calling to fight authentically, to persevere when your back is up against the wall, and to change the world one person, one business at a time. So let's start with the preface in this story, which is Lawyerlifter, the funsy persona from Instagram, which circa started 2015. Mel, the lawyer, was about done with her first lawyer gig and about to quit this first firm, which historically I was with 4 law firms before manifesting Uplift Law. Mel, the powerlifter, was not quite there. I was morbidly obese, as diagnosed by my physician, and now had joined a weight loss pseudo CrossFit gym to transform. There, while I was literally trying to save my life from heart disease, high cholesterol, diabetes, and hypertension, I fell in love with the clang and bang of powerlifting. At this birth of Lawyerlifter, I was unhappy in my inward and outward and needed to evolve and transform. So throughout the years, really every single year of Lawyerlifter, I kept changing, kept going, kept fighting for something I knew not what at the time. But as I said in the beginning, this podcast is a cleansing talk, like a phoenix from the ashes culminating to today, with fierce eyes demanding a just and better future for me and you all. This story is woven by the guests, clients, friends, family, firm, all really one and the same in my world, who come to speak with me. Lawyerlifter, if I can really end this with a great summation, brandishes a light, a sword, a hammer of strength. Because the lawyer in the courtroom needs the strength to find any flutter of room to make her case. The powerlifter on the platform needs to find any last bit of strength to get that weight up. And here she is, the lawyer lifter businesswoman needs to fight and wield strength to grow and embolden any and all businesses who come her way. That is what lawyer lifter is. So come talk with me. So, one of the things that I recently experienced is just the being the lawyer behind all types of businesses and then having the privilege of seeing businesses in all of their stages, I it's awesome to see what it's like at the startup level, what it's like in the 1 to 2 years, 5 years, and I've got some very senior businesses who have been in business 10 years, and every single one of them, it's always the same. Business doesn't sleep, and it is always so unpredictable. Also, you're always trying to grow and always trying to stay relative. And this holiday season, I got this terrible gift. And that's why I'm talking about this one topic. I got a terrible gift of like different kinds of books. And it's like, like it's so intimate, like, right? Like when you're gifting, like, there are certain gifts that are very intimate. You have to put a lot of thought with like jewelry, I think, like uh, underwear, lingerie, that type of stuff, and then books, right? So I got this like just terrible selection of books. So we went to Barnes and Noble and I was just trying to find, books that I gravitate towards. And I looked at the business section and I just could not believe how many like how-to books there were. The business section took like 3 different like um just bookcases of books. And I was flipping through all of that, like, pretty good sampling, just kind of what what is the theme that these books all have in common? And one of the things that I picked up was like two themes. And I always I find this too in all my clients, whether they start up, whether they're like really been in business for a long time. And that's one, motivation. And then two, it's also how to relay your message, make it and that's the second one's a little bit more like murky because it has to do with communication, right? So literally two things I think, or what I've seen being the attorney behind businesses, is that motivation and can you clearly communicate what you're about? Like, and that is going to carry on to other facets of keeping a business alive, like marketability, like also retaining clients, retaining customers, patrons. And so the second one has to also do with branding. And so, anyway, I just was amazed at how many pieces of literature there are related to businesses. And I think it's really interesting these days because of COVID and because now, like, you're not dealing with necessarily you, the owner, as like a physical manifestation when you go out and you talk about your business. You have to do it in other ways. Like, you have to relay, number two, the clear message about your business via social media, via other avenues. And what's also interesting is that the new generation of business owners is really teaching the ones that have been in business for quite some time how to reach farther than just what they're used to, which is a lot of person to person contact, a lot of messaging in that way. And so what we're seeing is just a trend with the established people really thinking about how they can communicate who they are, what they're about, their traditions, um, with the new vehicles. And so that's just interesting. So what I would have to say is that don't spend your money really on all these like how-to books, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's about those two core things. Like, do you have motivation? If you have the motivation, then you've got to like manifest that or that into simpler terms, like a message, like what are you about? And from there you can branch off and brand and market, and those two items carry on throughout the life of your business. So, anyways, that's just a whole like Mel speaks on this one topic about like observing unnecessary costs in either starting up your business or, in revamping your business. We're always talking about like, what do I need to invest in my business? I will say, in my humble opinion, don't waste your money on a book or literature that's just going to tell you what you already know. Be motivated and keep it simple, stupid. So if anybody didn't know or didn't see, I recently got married December 5th, and that is a huge deal. I say this all the time. Ever since I started my business in business, I've told business owners who I'm breaking up in their partnerships, because one of the like things that always comes up, it's like the bread and butter of business. No matter how savvy you are, the people always tend to get into relationships, and especially business relationships, and then form partnerships without any paperwork or any paper trail or whatever. And I always do this like anecdote, and it always makes people chuckle. And I'm like, in California, it's super easy to get married, super easy to form partnerships, but so hard to divorce, so hard to break up a partnership. And then, I've been saying this, and then December 5th, boom, I get married. And, I will happily report it is very easy to get married in the state of California. Um, but one of the things that I keep doing that is very unlike a lot of my colleagues, like, first of all, when I started Uplift, it was so pre-COVID, and I had that idea of like, you know what, like, fuck this like office and stuff. Like, why don't we just do everything virtual? Because it saves time on, driving, your gas, your wardrobe. Like, your time is your own. And like, when people have their time as their own, and they feel relaxed, their productivity goes up. And we'll talk about productivity in the new age later on. But like, my colleagues were telling me like, oh my god, you're crazy, Mel. People want to go to an office, they want to see their attorney, blah blah blah. Now, like, later on, we're going to talk about how I essentially turned that upside down, because I've yet to use an office. I meet my clients pre-COVID. I would have lunch, dinner, chill, talk like the uh, real and dirty of business, and then move on. Now, like, when I got engaged and was moving towards getting married, my colleagues were also saying, like, Mel, like, prenup, prenup, prenup. You of all people, like, you're so into contracts, like, it's just good. It's like a safety or whatever. And especially you, because you have, your own business. And under California, like I've said, it's very difficult to divorce. And so what ended up happening, everybody, is that I did not do a prenup. Like, do I regret it? No, like, I don't regret it. Was it because of my mushy feelings that, like, this is going to last forever, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, for someone who like is very serious about contracts, and that essentially is what a marriage is. It is a contract. I didn't do that one exception to the contract, which is the prenup. So there's that. And then the other thing is that I keep getting like questions on, like, Mel, congrats. Like, what's it like? Like, what is it like being married? And I'm like, the same. Like, I mean, the same, but cooler and more like official. But I think, and I don't want like anybody to like at me or whatever and like start commenting, but it's like, I'm just speaking from my personal opinion, but like, I feel like if post wedding, like, things are like drastically different, I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. I feel like the work um kind of has to be done before you get married. Like, you take those vows and you sign that contract for like that binding contract.
And yeah, like it's been the same but more official. Like if anything, and I think I this is so horrible, but you got to understand this is coming from a business attorney that like if anything, I feel even more freedom being legally bound to John. And that should be the same that carries on in business, right? Like you should feel like ecstatic. You should feel free. You should feel expansive when you like enter into contracts with your business, much like, like marriage, right? Like you all know what you're getting into because you all entered into a business contract. I know what I got into, so does John because he got into a marriage contract with me. So if I were to say, like, what is it? It's only like December 28th. I got married December 5th. So maybe my assessment's a little premature, but I will say that nothing has really changed at all. If anything, it's just gotten better on my end in terms of like the freedom and the ability to do what I've been doing even prior to getting married. So the other stuff, like I have no idea. So that remains to be seen in future podcasts. Like what, being not a young chick, like a lot of other girls and, younger women are in the game. I'm 35, I'll be 36 in May. I just got married. And, I think statistically speaking, I'm like older and, like, I don't regret that, like, being older and then getting married, because I had a lot of shit to do prior to getting married. And I still have a lot of shit to do. And the next question is like, Mel, like, what do you do about kids? Like, what are you going to do? Like, and I don't know. That also remains to be seen too, because Uplift was built to be more than myself. And I do want to pass that down. But even if I did have a kid, like it's not like I can force this kid to be like, you know what, this is what I had built, like take the reins on. It's not going to necessarily be like that. And so I don't know, with um of course, like I feel young at heart. I do things that are really like not very traditional. I power lift and I compete on a national level. So the kids post marriage, like all of the little anecdotes you do, like in, as a woman, like what is Mel gonna do? No clue. I think that the modern woman these days, they kind of just have to figure it out, like uh, fly by the seat of your pants, if you will. So I don't know. We'll see. What is the life post marriage? How does that gel with a business and a business that is a law firm? You know. So I think that the modern woman makes her own rules, and everything is just turned upside down. So I've been asked, when's the next time I'm going to compete? It has literally been a little bit over a year since I have stepped onto the platform. And since then, I've still been training. I train 5 days a week, 2 hours each day. This is a time, and I have my coaches still coaching me. I train out of SoCal Powerlifting in Irvine, who is actually a client of Uplift Law, one of our historical clients. And also, my coach is the head coach there, Juan Sanchez. I also have my nutrition just dialed in by my nutritionist that I've worked with for the past going on 6 years. And so, with the pandemic, the 2020 training season has looked a lot different because it has been all about building and just preparing, just like preparing for perhaps a local meet and a state meet to get to the national level. So, for those of you out there that don't No, the way that I have been competing, I always try to get to nationals and make it to what's called prime time. And prime time is when the creme de la creme of lifters in the nation compete during a specific time. And so I've been honored to compete at that level for the past 2 years. And of course, 2020 with COVID, my entire season is sort of kicking in, but there are no USAPL, which stands for USA Powerlifting. That's the federation I compete in. They haven't had any Southern California meets, and so I've been trying to scramble with my coach to find a local meet to just to start up again, to kind of put my rank and my total on the board. And so I was actually scheduled to try and get into a northern local meet in San Jose, I believe it's March 20th, but that looks like it's not going to occur because I'm like 11th on the wait list. And however, just last night, uh, Warcat, a gym, oh, I'm sorry, not Warcat, but Iron Office Gym in Fresno is going to be opening a meet May 1st. So that like registration period's opening up today at noon. So hopefully I get into that competition, because what I presume is happening is that like everybody in California is trying to get into like one of five local meets that are occurring, and so there's just like not enough. So as to when I'll compete again, it looks like May 1st up in Fresno, and I think that's like almost 4 hours from here. And so like everybody's like also asking like, what, how have I been training? But like I said before, I've just been training because I love the sport, right? Like I'm not training. I think what COVID has shown is like the people that really love the sport, that need it for mental, emotional, physical like outlet, like they'll do it, And so I've been training without any competitions in the pipeline. Any novice who asks me like, okay, like what do, if I want to compete, if I want to do well, like what is it that I need to do? And it's like you have to keep competing because it's so different than training in the gym, like competing. And like a really weird fun fact is actually like I don't like I don't necessarily like competing. I don't like the attention on me, which is crazy because literally, like, last year, my meets were broadcast, like streamed. And so I knew, like, even on a national level, like, I just like pretend it's not really like there's so much mental power that I would argue goes more into competing than being in a courtroom. Like, I probably it's because I've been doing the courtroom scene for over 9 years and competing, I think, like, a little over 4. But, yeah, like, I am so uncomfortable, like, you don't like, I've done so many competitions, I still feel, like, so nervous. It's kinda like a fighter, right? So I compete in the 52 kilo, weight class raw. So that raw means all I have are knee sleeves to assist me. I have three main movements. You first start off with a back squat, then you go into the bench press, then you go into the deadlift. And you have three attempts for each of those main lifts. The difference in my federation is that, yes, it's drug tested, and also I have a 2 hour weigh in. So I compete at 52 kilos. That's roughly 114.6 pounds. And then I have 2 hours before I hit the platform at 9 a.m. to start back squatting. So, like, the nutrition is really key in terms of training because I'm a lightweight, so I have been walking around at 116.6 pounds for the past like month and a half. So basically, I just end up loading my body with a lot of water, cutting sodium, and then I'm peeing the rest of the and change pounds away, so that by weigh-in time I'm at weight, and then you refuel your body. You've got 2 hours to do that, get your hydration in, get your like food in, and then you're ready to rock and roll. So like that's like the insanity of competing. And your mind, there's like, this is not a team sport. This is like you, this barbell, and all eyes on you. And like also you've got three judges, two on each side and one in the front, trying to making sure that you've like squatted to depth, which is, depth is your below your hip crease, so not parallel, like literally like ass to grass. And then following the commands as to like squat, and then you rack, you get like a little bit of a break after you've completed squat, and then back into bench press, same thing, and then a little bit of a break, and then into deadlift. So it is like an intense experience. And so like, even though people are like, oh, like you've been doing this for a long time, like you've been competing, it's like it's the same. I know what it was like in my first competition, how like sick and nervous I felt. And I really hope to see you guys there. Like, come up to Fresno and show some love. It'll be the first meet for a lawyer lifter for like a year and a chunk. So that's quite some time. Thanks for tuning in. You can find this episode and others at lawyerlifter.com or wherever you subscribe to podcasts. For questions or comments, you can contact me on our website, lawyerlifter.com, or find me at lawyerlifter on Instagram.